Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're slicing right through the Hollywood mercenary myths and diving straight into the sobering, highly structured reality of breaking into overseas private security. We're actually tackling a very specific and frankly fascinating scenario from our sources. Can a 51-year-old civilian with just basic gun experience really deploy to a third-world conflict zone to secure logistics? Well, let's find out.
Here is our blueprint for today. We'll start with the civilian contractor reality, then move into upgrading your security credentials. After that, we'll break down the tiers of logistics security, do some mapping of global security hotspots, and wrap it all up with the immediate action plan.
All right, jumping right into part one, the civilian contractor reality.
So imagine this. You're trying to secure third world logistics at 51, and you've only got basic gun skills. Is it actually possible? The data here is pretty uncompromising. It is exceptionally difficult, but crucially, not entirely impossible. See, major Tier 1 contractors, think Constellus or Gardaworld, they demand elite military special operations or extensive police backgrounds. If you don't have that, you are definitely starting from the back of the line. But there is a backdoor. The broader international security market heavily utilizes third country nationals and specific specialists through a very strict step-by-step progression. Now, age 51 is actually a really fascinating variable here. On one hand, recruiters genuinely value the maturity and stability that comes with age, right? You aren't some hothead just looking for action. But on the other hand, your endurance is going to be tested to its absolute breaking point. We are talking grueling 12 to 16-hour shifts in extreme heat, carrying heavy tactical gear, all in a high-stress zone. You'll face brutal physical and psychological vetting. Essentially, you have to prove that your body can actually cash the checks your ambition is writing. Just so we're all on the exact same page with the landscape, we're talking about PSCs and PMCs. These are private firms providing security, logistics protection, and stability operations in high-threat areas. This isn't about being a soldier. It's strictly about risk management and protection in regions where the standard rule of law is either absent or just severely compromised.
Okay, let's pivot to Section 2, upgrading your security credentials. So if you lack that elite military background, you desperately need a different edge. A basic domestic guard card carries virtually zero weight overseas on its own. But you know what does? Medical expertise. As the industry saying goes, companies will often hire a competent medic much faster than a generic gunfighter. Turns out, knowing how to patch holes is in significantly higher demand than just knowing how to make them. Beyond the medical side, these right here are your absolute non-negotiable upgrades. An exposed firearm permit? That's just step one. Then you need high-level tactical medical training, like tech. And basic static range time? Absolutely won't cut it. You must invest heavily in professional defensive carbine, low-light shooting, and vehicle-borne firearms courses, taught by reputable tactical facilities. You are literally rebuilding your entire profile from a civilian novice to a highly specialized asset.
Next up, Section 3, Tiers of Logistics Security.
Here's the harsh reality of the industry divide. As a civilian, Tier 1 is entirely closed to you. Those are the high-threat, mobile details moving high-value cargo through active war zones, strictly the domain of combat veterans. Your viable entry point is going to be Tier 2 or Tier 3. This means base defense, gate security, and life support for NGOs and the State Department. This level is very often managed through subcontractors who utilize third country nationals. But look, you can't exactly just parachute from a weekend training course straight into a Tier 2 base in a conflict zone. You have to bridge that gap with 2 to 3 years of pristine, armed domestic security work. We are talking high-risk infrastructure, places like nuclear power plants, defense manufacturing, or high-end executive protection. Overseas recruiters want to see maturity and an absolute zero-liability track record. You got to prove you can handle the heat and the intense regulation at home first.
Once that resume is rock solid, do not waste your time knocking on the doors of Tier 1 primes. You need to strategically target mid-tier international firms and legacy defense support conglomerates. Think Vectrus or KBR. These are the companies integrating security into massive base operations. Get on LinkedIn, find the actual overseas ops managers and logistics security supervisors, and put yourself directly on their radar. Networking with the people managing these private security details is a total game changer.
Oh, and you also have to prepare for a literal mountain of administrative red tape. Operating overseas means strict federal compliance, which is entirely anchored by the Defense Base Act. This governs workers' comp insurance for contractors in high-threat zones. It is a dense, uncompromising web of legal and tax requirements, Honestly, all the tactical readiness in the world means absolutely nothing if you aren't administratively compliant. Moving right along to Section 4, Mapping Global Security Hotspots.
Let's take a look at the current operational map. The demand for specialized risk management out there is absolutely vast. In Africa, fractured states like Sudan, the DRC, and Somalia require fortified base defense and convoy protection just to keep basic humanitarian aid moving. Up in Eastern Europe, specifically Ukraine, direct combat is avoided by contractors, but massive support is needed to secure critical railheads and reconstruction sites. And across Asia, in places like Myanmar and Afghanistan, shifting power dynamics are severely disrupting NGO transport routes, meaning private security intervention is heavily relied upon.
Zooming in on the Middle East and the Levant, the security matrix is incredibly fragmented. Along Gaza and Israeli borders, the priority right now is site defense and securing constant humanitarian aid transport. Up in Lebanon and Syria, it's all about navigating localized insurgencies and regional proxies. And out on the water, the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden are driving massive demand for maritime transit protection to secure global supply chains against naval disruptions.
And then, of course, you have the Sahel region of Africa. Insurgencies and military coups in places like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have left vast rural supply routes completely vulnerable. They require private contractors just to keep the vital lifelines open. Similarly, down in Nigeria, persistent internal threats against critical infrastructure demand non-stop continuous contractor support to keep the economy and those transport lines actually functioning. All right, bringing it all together with Section 5, the immediate action plan.
So, if you are absolutely determined to make this happen, here is your uncompromising Day 1 blueprint. Step 1, finish that basic guard card, but secure your exposed armed permit immediately. Step 2, become a medical asset. Get into a TCCC course or go for a full EMT certification. And Step 3, put in the time. Log 2 to 3 years of verifiable, flawless armed security or tactical adjacent experience domestically. You have to prove your situational awareness under pressure at home before you ever ask to deploy.
This path completely obliterates the whole Hollywood mercenary myth, doesn't it? It requires immense discipline, highly specialized medical expertise, and literally years of a grueling domestic grind. Knowing the massive personal sacrifice required, the question we have to ask is, are you truly willing to endure that grind to protect the hidden lifelines of the world's most dangerous regions? Thanks so much for joining this explainer. See you next time.